Gday Gorgeous, I so appreciate you tuning in today to the podcast that empowers women for financial independence and business success. And if you are brand new to this podcast, then I welcome you and I appreciate you being here with us today and joining our community. This week's question from one of our ladies inside the community, her name is Janet. She asks this really common question. Amanda Jane, how do you move on from regret, resentment, guilt and shame and leave it in the past? My out of control emotions and baggage is making me and my life miserable. I am sure that you can relate in some way because I know I can, and I am going to share some good stuff today. The Gday Gorgeous podcast is where you are going to get real, raw, relatable stories, answers, solutions, ideas, and proven formulas that can help you overcome these frustrations and go on to live the life that you truly love each and every day, no matter who you are or your background. My name is Amanda Jane Clarkson. I am a best-selling author, an inspirational speaker, a serial entrepreneur, and a trained Demartini Method facilitator, and a world-leading financial independence and business success coach for women who want to release their inner multimillionaire. So if that's you, you're on the right podcast. To find out how I can help you gain the clarity, gain the inspiration and the certainty to go out there and design and live your dream life, please visit me, gdaygorgeous.com, or click the link in the notes below. And of course, be sure to have your journal and a nice cuppa ready today because it is going to be full of golden nuggets of inspirations and learnings that can absolutely help you jumpstart the life that you truly want. Let's get into it. Good morning, gorgeous butterflies. If you are new joining us on this podcast, welcome. You'll probably need a nice cup of tea. This is a kind of heavy podcast today. Super interesting, very informative. If you are one of these women or guys listening out there that carry regret, shame, guilt, frustration, resentment, and anger of the past. So we've got a few ladies jumping on. You all are gorgeous ladies. Mwah. I love each and every one of you. Thank you for joining me this morning. As I said, today is going to be full of golden nuggets, and I'm excited to share this information because the question that has come in from one of our ladies inside our community, one of our gorgeous butterflies, she says this: Amanda Jane, do you have any advice on how to move from regret, resentment, guilt, and shame and leave it in the past? My out of control emotions and baggage is making me and my life miserable. Now, I think that each and every one of us can relate to that particular question in some way. I added a couple of words, but this woman is feeling miserable, and I want you to put yourself in a moment, think about your life, and ask yourself, how many things in the past or how many experiences in the past do I keep reliving, thinking about, bringing into the now, and they are regrets or decisions that I've made that weren't to my highest outcomes, the things I didn't want to, really live, or frustrations or guilt around something, an experience or something that we have done or have not done. And we know in our heart that that particular experience is holding us back from our full potential, being, doing, and having the life that we each dream of. Now, we all have our own unique dreams and values in life, and they're all different, and that depends on what's meaningful for you. However, most of us carry these resentments, most of us carry this baggage, and it really does have a profound effect on whether you go on and live the life that you want, or you get stuck in the past, living in the past, spinning your wheels, going nowhere. So if any of you ladies have ever had anything like that, you are with me, you understand what I'm saying, give me a thumbs up or a crying or a love heart, just so I know that you're with me, because I really would love some interaction throughout this podcast. It's going to be kind of a little bit more heavy than usual, and it is probably going to strike a chord emotionally for many of you watching this. Here they come now, yes, because sometimes a lot of people find it really difficult to talk about past. They get, it brings up emotions that they'd rather try and keep down. But here's what I know. It is best to resolve and dissolve these emotions than let these things wreck your life, because really that's what it's doing, allowing our old emotions and baggage to ruin our life. And so in today's podcast, I really want to get into a couple of little things that I think you might want to take notes on. Some of you will agree with what I'm sharing with you. Some of you will feel a charge on that, maybe a positive interest or a negative, I don't like what she's saying here. And that is totally okay, because on this podcast, there is no judgment, and I'm just here to share a message based on my own journey, my experience, my expertise, and hopefully guide you along the way to living the life that you want to live. And today I wanted to talk about something that is really dear to my heart, and I've been studying it since probably 2010, and it is a tiny little insight, a tiny snippet into what we call the Demartini Method. Now, some of you are familiar with Dr. John Demartini's work. Some of you have probably never heard of him, and that's okay. But I just want to share a little bit today about his methodology and the fact that I am a trained Demartini Method facilitator. Therefore, I'm able to do the method and facilitate the method with people in groups or one-on-one. And that's not this podcast, that's not what this is about, but I want to share how I used a snippet of the Demartini Method many years ago to dissolve a lot of resentment that I was carrying, a lot of shame that I was carrying around loss, perceived loss of money, relationships, and things in my own life. And it really helped me resolve and dissolve a lot of anger. And I realized that when I had gone through this particular methodology that was based on 44 years of his trainings, that I was able to finally free myself from the prison that I had built in my own mind and move forward. And for me, it was such a feeling of relief. And it really made a massive difference in my life, because I believe without myself going through that methodology, without going through the steps that I'm going to talk a little bit about today and give you something that you can walk away with today and do for yourself, that my life would be completely different now, and I would not be in the position that I am now, living my life the way that I want, my life by design instead of by accident or in desperation. So I'm going to read out a couple of things, ladies, because that is the agreement that I have with Dr. Demartini as a trained facilitator. And at the bottom of this podcast, if you're new, there is an asterisk explaining what this methodology is, but I do need to allow you to understand a little bit about what I'm saying. So this methodology that Dr. Demartini developed many years, he's been teaching it for over 44 years. I really truly believe that anybody who learns a little bit more about it, uses this methodology on themselves to help resolve these issues that hold us back, can really be of massive benefit. So let me just read out what the Demartini Breakthrough Method is. It is a discovery and cutting edge personal transformation methodology which results in a new perspective and a new paradigm in thinking and feeling. It is the culmination of more than 44 years of research by Dr. Demartini and studies in numerous disciplines. Now, these disciplines that are all wrapped into his methodology are the following: physics, physiology, theology, metaphysics, psychology, astronomy, mathematics, neurology, and physiology. So all of the ologies wrapped into a scientific and a mathematical equation, which is a series of questions which help the mind come back to what we call equilibrium and dissolves all of these resentments or infatuations that most of us have in our life as we go through on this journey. So the procedure itself, which I'm only going to do a tiny snippet today, please don't think that this is the whole methodology. It takes a lot longer than this podcast, but The procedure neutralizes a person's emotional charges. So just stop and think for a half a moment. Wow, what area of my life, we're looking at the 7 areas of life here, do you have some sort of emotional charge on? Either a resentment, which is a negative charge on something or somebody, or baggage in the past, or an infatuation where we put people above us and we subordinate ourselves to their life, to their ideals, to their what their idea of life should look like for us. And so therefore we sometimes have these charges. So this procedure balances out and neutralizes those charges to bring yourself back into an equal, balanced state of emotions, so that your emotions really, at the end of the day, if I could simplify this as simple as I can, this method dissolves emotions that can run your life. And so picture it this way. Think of yourself driving a boat or a bus or whatever. Instead of being the passenger in the passenger seat, this method helps you get back into the driver's seat. And I'm a really big advocate, and as a mentor to so many people, the thing that I love to help people do the most is get back into the driver's seat of their life. Whereas what I say emotions, if emotions are running your life, then you're in the passenger seat and you could be all over the place. And there's nothing worse than not being in control of your own destiny. Give me a sign, ladies and guys, if you are that type of person where you want to be in control of your own destiny instead of allowing your out of control emotions and baggage to make your life miserable, because that's what it does. So what the method does, as I said, it balances your mental and physical reaction, because our mental state creates our physical state. Here come all the messages. I love it. And, I think about this and I'm thinking, well, if I can learn to, and I'm getting all wound up now, I love this subject, but I have this thing, right, that if I can learn to control my emotions based on my perceptions, then that allows me to take physical care of myself, better physical care. And so I don't have all these ailments and dis-ease that arises in my body because of my out of whack perceptions in life. And so I'm some people might say, geez, you're very passionate about this, Amanda, but what I'm passionate about is more the understanding of how we can control our emotions, we can control our future, and therefore live and create that life that we want. Understanding, of course, that there is no lopsided of life. There's no just one side, that there's positive, negative, ups, downs, peace and war, harmony and conflict. And this is where I see most people put themselves in a turmoil. And I listen to it every day, that most people out there are just trying to live that one side of life. They just want all the positives without the negative. They just want to live in a world of peace with no war. They just want that lopsided fantasy that life can be perfect in every way. And I'm one of these mentors, and I'm sorry some of you will not like hearing this. My women are used to hearing it, but some of you may not like hearing this. But life is not one-sided, for Christ's sake. I mean, who gets out of bed every day and has every single day of their life peace without war going on, whether that's in the family dynamic, whether it's out in the, in society? There is no such thing. And when you finally understand and allow life to be as it is, allow others to live the way they want to live, you live the way you want to live, it really starts to calm down emotions and these imbalances that we have that cause this, what I call baggage, and making ourselves miserable. The only things you can control in life is this. There are 3 things. Write this down. We can only control our perceptions, our decisions, and our actions. And this is what I have learned from hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of classroom hours, but more importantly than just classroom hours, actually putting this stuff into action. So, especially in my community here, I'm a big advocate of My words will not teach anything, but only your actions. And I always say to people, the moment you hear something that clicks with you, the faster you put it into an action, the sooner it will become part of you and your life will change. And so what I want to do is I'm going to answer Janet's question here on, well, how do I leave the regret behind and the resentment that I have? Now, this could be for people, things that have happened, losses or gains in life, and it could be around money, it could be around health, it could be in any of the 7 areas of your life, relationships, your job or your career, loss or gain in any of these situations. In fact, the Demartini Method that I talk about so much has over 1,000 uses. And so today what I'm going to do is just talk about a tiny snippet on how you can change your perceptions and, break those chains of the past and just let it go, because, this method that I'm talking about fits in beautifully with the Live Now formula, which is our own formula that we live our life by. And each of the letters in the word Live Now is an acronym or a principle, I like to say, for life success. And today I really want to talk about the first letter in the words Live Now, which is talking about love and let go. And so this all works perfectly, because here's what I know, and some of you may agree with this: by changing your perceptions, you change your mind chemistry. And once you balance out the emotion, you will notice changes instantly. And those changes, from my own experience from doing this many, many times, is that you feel calmer, you have more order in your life and more balance. Now, who doesn't want those 3 things in your life? Give me a sign if you want more balance, you want to feel calm, and you want to have order where you feel that you are definitely in the captain's seat of your life and you have a destination that you are heading towards. Who doesn't want that? I mean, I'm sure I'm not the only one. So, yep, here come all the love hearts, of course. And so here's what I know. Until we can learn to control our emotions, balance out our emotions, how the freaking hell can we control our life? It's like being out in the ocean. Now, I talk about boating because that's one of the things that are dear to my heart. My husband and I love boating, and we do a lot of cruising out in the ocean. And I know what it's like to be on a boat in the ocean when the ocean seems out of control. But when you understand how to captain that boat and you know how to navigate the ocean, as my husband does — I am not the captain, he is, of our boat — we can maneuver that boat, and what it does, it dissolves the fear and the angst that a normal human being might feel out in the ocean, where you feel like there's no control and you've got, things like whales and sea life and all these things around you and other boats in different situations and the weather patterns changing. Life is no different. I see life as very, very similar, and that's why I like to use the boat analogy, because sometimes the weather changes and you can't see it coming, or something is in the ocean that you don't think is going to be there. It could be a container that's fallen off a big ship, or in whale season there's whales all around and you have to turn the dial a little bit and change route so that you don't hit anything. And life is the same, and yet if you have your emotions out of balance and they are controlling you instead of you controlling them, then God knows what could happen out there on the boat. And so this is why I'm so very, very I feel privileged. That's the word I want to use. Privileged to be able to share the work of Dr. John Demartini, who is just one of my many, many mentors. But I do love to study a lot, because this methodology, which is used in over 60 countries, it's used in, just let me go back here, I'll tell you exactly where it's used. And by the way, we've got Dr. John Demartini coming on as a guest on the Gday Gorgeous podcast early next year. So I'm very, very excited to bring you the man himself, and we'll be talking more about his methodology in and around money. Who's interested in that podcast? Financial independence is the thing that I want to be talking about, helping women release their multimillionaires. However, this methodology that we are talking about now is used in for business, in the police force, prisons, actors, politicians, and even for UN delegates, where they dissolve and resolve conflict. So this methodology is used for, as I said, over 1,000 different ways. But today, I want to talk about Live Now formula and answering Janet's question on how to resolve and dissolve those past resentments or those past regrets that hold us in the past, not being able to live now. And it's absolutely beautiful. So what I'm about to share you is not the whole method, because that's up to 22 questions. I'm just going to give you a tiny snippet. Get your journal out, ladies. And if you're new to this, thank you again. I hope you're putting yourself in the driver's seat or captaining your ship. Maybe you're in the passenger seat. Give me a sign if you feel that your life is in the passenger seat. Give me a crying face. Or if you feel that your life is more in the captain's seat, give me a love heart, ladies, because you can choose which seat you want to sit in. It is totally up to you. So this whole podcast is about helping you get from the freaking passenger seat to the captain's seat. Okay, here they come, the love hearts. Who's got a couple of crying faces out there? Many, many times I have felt like I'm in the passenger seat of life, and that's why I am a big, big believer that, the smartest investment we can make as humans is in our education. Don't be one of those dumb nuts out there who believe they don't need personal development. Most people who need it won't do it, and the people who need it the least always are the ones who invest in their education, just like you ladies here with me today. Believing and understanding that you are the answer, nobody else. So here's what I did to help me overcome. We lost, now, if you've been listening to this podcast for a while, you will probably remember that when the GFC hit, we perceived, I can't speak for my husband, but I'm speaking for myself, lost $1 million net worth overnight in the GFC. You can listen to that podcast, that's a few weeks ago, but you can imagine the emotions that were running rampant in my mind at the time. I was out of control because the perception of such a lot of money, $1 million for us at the time was a lot of money. I have a lot of respect for money, for what money can do. And for us, that was everything. It had been a previous 5 years working 7 days a week to accumulate amount of money that we invested in a risk. The risk didn't pay off because the GFC hit and we lost that $1 million net worth. And so this is the first time that I actually did the Demartini Method. This is back in 2010, and that resentment that I held for a certain amount of people and the particular loss was what helped me overcome and go on to create the life that I have now, where I get to serve people doing what I love to do. And so here's what I would say. Think about something that is holding you back in life. It could be baggage or resentment on a person or a situation. I'll give you a couple of examples. And what I want you to do is write down everything that you can think of that you are regretful for in your life. Now, when you write down things that you are regretful for, you must be very specific, keeping the emotion out of it. It could be an action you did or an inaction or a personality trait about yourself or another person. Now, I'll give you a couple of examples, okay, because you need to be specific because it helps you resolve and dissolve the charge that you have on yourself. So, for instance, I wrote down, lost $1 million in the GFC. That was the action that I'd taken or that I perceived loss. Or it could be something like I would write down, criticizing mum for her controlling ways. That was baggage that I was holding on to that was making my stomach churn and burn every day. And I was blaming mum for where my life had gotten to. So I wrote down criticizing mum. Another thing, this is just an example, okay, to help you. Not smart enough for my dream job. So that was something that I wrote down that I felt regretful for, that I was never smart enough to get what I wanted in life. Another thing that some people might feel regret or shame about or resentment. Physically hitting my partner. So see how I'm super specific, I'm keeping the emotion out of it, and I'm just writing down the action, the inaction, or the trait, specific personality trait. Could be something like leaving my child in childcare while following my career. So this is something you might feel guilty about in the past or shameful about in the past, because society might say, as a mum, you should be at home with your children, but you have a desire and something meaningful for you that you want to fulfill, and so you pop your child in childcare, but everybody else is telling you how you should live your life, and so therefore you build up guilt and shame and baggage, which sometimes you can carry through for years or decades or even a lifetime. And in some cases, the baggage and the resentment and the guilt and the shame can build up to the point where you create in your body, through emotion, through perception, dis-ease. Disease is just your mind at dis-ease. And this is the thing that is so brilliant about Demartini's methodology, is that it brings the mind back to peace and calm and order. And think about that. If your mind is calm, you have order in your life, you're more at peace because you're in control of your emotions, not the other way around. Does it not lead to a more peaceful inner being? Now, isn't that beautiful? To me, that is absolutely incredible. And this is not just woo-woo. As I said before, it's all the ologies, it's scientific, mathematical questions that he has put together. And I've seen it for myself for some of the most, what we might perceive, horrific incidents dissolved. I've done it on myself many, many times, done hundreds of classroom hours where I've worked with people on their charges, either positive or negative, so infatuations or resentment, dissolve them and help bring their mind back into order, or, as John would say, equilibrium, where the soul is balanced. And all you feel at the end is gratitude and grace. Well, grace, I should say, and love. Now, if you are new to this podcast, my ladies are used to me speaking like this. You might be going, whoa, what's she on today? Has she been, taking some magic glue or something, or sniffing glue? I don't know. Please, if you want to find out more, you can go to our website at gdaygorgeous.com and you'll find out more about this, or go to demartiniinstitute.com and you'll find out certainly as much as you want. I am just a conduit, I am just a messenger, and simply just a facilitator. This is not my work. I am not a doctor, I am not a psychologist or anything of the sort, and I am not saying that you should only do this method and nothing else. I am just sharing another way, another strategy, another idea, because here's what he says. No human being needs to suffer for more than 3 hours, no matter how unfortunate, horrific, sad the situation might be. And so I say to myself, holy hell, Amanda, do you want to suffer for the next 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, or would you love to dissolve that baggage that you're carrying around about? I had a lot of baggage. If anyone's read my book, Frustrated to Fabulous. If anyone's read my book, I had so much anger and resentment around my mother, and this method helped me resolve that so I could get on and just be grateful for the lessons that she gave me, because it turned me into the person I am today. It made me resilient. It made me stand on my own 2 feet, take responsibility for my life instead of getting mollycoddled and staying juvenile. And so I see that now as a gift. So there were just a couple of examples for you. So let me go backwards here. I know I'm speaking 1,000 miles an hour. Ladies, give me a sign if this is interesting for you. You're taking notes, and you can start to see now how you don't have to sit there in pain. You don't have to sit there in shame or guilt or resentment. There is an option, should you choose, to move through that. And, that's what I love about this method. So beside each of these things that you write down in your journal that you might describe as baggage, and this could be around money, It could be around your relationships. It could be around your vocation, which is your job, your career, or your business. It could be around your health. It could be around what you might perceive as a happy life or your personal growth. Then write down beside each of the things that you regret 20 to 50 benefits and services to you, others who perceived you, or others who were in that moment, the benefits of them, of the regrets you have. So just like I said about my mum, I would write down verbally criticized me growing up. That's the resentment that I had about my mother. I always felt that she criticized me. But by going through the benefits, I began to dissolve and realize that it wasn't always that way. There are just as many times, and I can't go through it all now because there's some more questions, but there were just as many times where she didn't criticize me. She was praising me, cheering me on, lifting me up, telling me to get out there and live my dream. But at the time, I had it all skewed up because of my perception. And I was saying that she always criticized me, but it wasn't the truth. And so when I stacked up the 20 to 50 benefits, I realized all of the gifts on those perceptions. And as I said, I moved out of home at 16. I stood on my own 2 feet. I became a serial entrepreneur, 33 jobs, 14 different businesses. And that would not have been the case if she'd done the opposite. Mollycoddled me, tried to protect me to the point where I couldn't even think for myself. Now put yourself in that seat. How many of you listening to this podcast know of somebody, could be others, close, you, in your family dynamic, social dynamic, when people are so mollycoddled, they grow up and they can't even make decisions for themselves. They can't think for themselves. They cannot go out there and create enterprise. They can't bring in the money. They don't know how to grow anything because everybody's done everything for them. Now, again, there's no judgment. I'm just saying I am so glad now that I had that upbringing and I couldn't see it without this method. Another thing that I want to say, I wrote down, lost $1 million in the GFC. Now, at that time, my emotions are out of control. When I started to write down all the benefits of that situation, I started to see that I wasn't living my full potential. I wanted to see that I was trying to gain something for nothing. And so all these benefits that came from that perceived loss of $1 million, I needed to grow mentally. I needed to grow personally. I had to invest into more education, more empowerment. I had to get different mentors. And what it helped me do was go out and build an education company that served tens of thousands of people. So from that perceived loss of $1 million, my husband and I made a decision that we would build our education company at the time and serve tens of thousands of people. We shared our story all around Australia, into America and into London. We spoke in front of 5,000 people at one conference. We shared our story and how we turned our story of loss into gain. And we showed other people how to become financially independent, how to build a business serving other people to set themselves free of the delusion that some people like myself were living, And so I stacked all these benefits. I became a professional speaker, or I like to say an inspirational speaker. We became best-selling authors. I've written 4 different books now. Helped other people become financially free. We have many, many families that have become multi-millionaires through the education that we physically wrote ourselves and taught around Australia and into the world. And so we stacked up all these benefits until in the end, I was having tears of gratitude and felt nothing but love and peace because the benefits of losing that $1 million were far outweighing the loss of that $1 million. Now, here's one thing that Demartini says. If you are doing this particular exercise that I'm sharing with you, and this is only one of the 22 different questions that I could go through, If you're talking about money, you must put a dollar figure on it, because the perception of losing $1 million is different for each person. So if you're new listening to this podcast, think about this and think about what you've lost in the past, because a lot of people have had an experience. Give me a sign, ladies, if you've ever lost money and it's done your head in. You've been emotional about it. You've been up, you've been down, you've blamed other people, you've pointed the finger, you've done the whole burger like I did. Here, we've all done it, right? So here's what he says. So the perception of $1 million was like $1 billion back in those days to me. It was so much money. And so when I stacked up the benefits, I needed to put a dollar sign beside each one. And here's what I discovered by putting a dollar sign beside each of the benefits that came from that loss. Remember, I've got to equal it out there. I had a perceived loss, then I stacked up the gains until it equaled out. I had millions, multi-millions of dollars in benefits. I think it was over, $60 million in benefits, $100 million in benefits. I can't even put a price tag on it because of who I became after the loss of that money. And so that $1 million shrunk in perception, and the value that I created, because it was actually worth that much to me, far outweighed. And can you see from that one exercise? And then I wrote down, well, how did it benefit me? But how did it benefit the tens of thousands of people who's learnt from our education, whose lives got turned around? I'll give you one story, one particular family who joined up with our education, and they had just moved into Australia. I can't think of the country they were from now. It'll come to me in a second. They turned up in Australia. I think it was Bulgaria they came from, with a sports bag full of clothes and nothing else. They were in their 20s, so hungry. Where they had come from, they were actually sleeping, the whole family in one room on a dirt floor. They had never even slept in a proper bed up until that. They're in their 20s. They came to a seminar that we were teaching about how to sell physical products on the internet and how to have a wealth creation mentality and create a proper business service serving other people. Those two were so hungry for success. Now, I want you to listen to this. So hungry for success, they found the money on a credit card. They got a credit card, invested into the education, which was around about $4,000 at the time. They became multi-millionaires, built a massive business on eBay and on the internet, and sold out for millions of dollars. They brought all of their family over. I can't think of the third world country that we're talking about now where they came from. Beautiful, beautiful people. They employed 5 different family members and completely changed their life. Taught their father, who was still in the country, how to do the same business, how to import, how to manufacture, because we taught them all that. Their whole lives changed. Now, this is just one story out of thousands. And so how can you put a dollar value on that? And I soon realized, and I'm going to say this, I'm looking you in the eye, that true wealth, if you're interested in releasing the multimillionairess within you, becoming truly financially independent or free, which is a different level altogether, and really, really having an incredible life, think about serving other people. And when I started to stack up the benefits and the value of serving other people, that $1 million that I lost in the GFC was loose change. Now, I know that's easy to say, and we worked very, very hard for the next 7 years to build up our foundation again. But let me tell you, it was so worth it. And from that education company, we got involved in charities and things like that that I probably never would have if we hadn't lost that money and I thought that I was, something special. I thought that I'd made it. I thought that I was really, really smart. I needed grounding, and I am so grateful because that one question really served me. And so I want you to think about when you're stacking up the benefits. So you think about the baggage. So step number 1, we're just talking about love and let go with the Live Now formula. Until you can come back to love and grace, you'll have an imbalanced perception. Because here's what Demartini says. This is the truth. I was going to find it because it's very, very important. When the losses outweigh the gains, you have emotional imbalance. When the gains outweigh the losses, you have emotional imbalance. But only when you bring them back to equal, or the mind back to equilibrium, do you have balance and order. And that is what he calls a state of unconditional love. That is the soul. And until you can look at your baggage, look at past regrets, look at resentment, guilt and shame, stack the benefits in all of the 7 areas of life, past to present, who else it was a benefit for, not just you, but others who perceived you, just like I talked about with our students. When you have that tear of grace, gratitude, and the heart opens for love, then you have balance and order in your life. Give me a sign if you think that is pure gold. And as I said, this is not the whole method. It is one tiny, tiny, tiny insight. It's not even the proper question that I would ask. But it just helps you see that, wow, we do not have to live in pain. We do not have to live in this illusion anymore that when you bring your heart and soul back into balance and order, you are in the captain seat of your life. Then you go through the rest of the Live Now formula. Imagine, visualizing, empowering yourself, never quitting on your hopes and your dreams through serving others. The opportunities that line up for you are incredible. That moment when we decided to become the best in our industry, and we were world leading experts for eBay education at the time, the opportunities were incredible. We ended up on TV, magazines. We would speak 47 times a year, every single weekend. We did hundreds of seminars. We met millionaires. We met billionaires. We got to share the stage with Robert Kiyosaki, Donald Trump before he became president. We met different people. So our level of influence changes. Now, I'm not saying that to brag, but put yourself in the driver's seat of your life. Where would you love to see yourself? What is your full potential? And when we let go, that's the first principle, love and let go, of the Live Now formula. When you let go of the past baggage, can you see now the power that you hold for now and the future? Your life by design, ladies, doesn't happen by accident. Your life by design happens by loving yourself enough, bringing yourself back to love and gratitude for self and others, equaling out your imbalanced perceptions. Remember, they're the only 3 things you can control: perceptions, decisions, and actions. Bringing that back into balance, planning for that grand new adventure, that new chapter of your life, following the Live Now formula. And you all have access to that. And so as a mentor, and even if you're new to this and you want to find out more, you can go to the website and find out more. But ladies, continually working on yourself is the absolute secret. And I see baggage, resentment, past regret as a gift. It is an absolute gift for you to recognize that you're sitting in the passenger seat. Write that down. If I have these emotions and this freaking baggage that's holding me back, and it could be a charge on a person or a situation, like, for me, it was my mother, or the loss of that $1 million, for instance, that is a gift for you. You can't change other people. You can only change yourself. And so you get more empowerment. You have freedom of your mind. You have better communication. Your health goes up another notch. You can even resolve and dissolve dis-ease within the body. That's a whole nother podcast coming up. You'll better have that communication with your partner, your children, your work colleagues. Maybe different opportunities will come to you now for making money, for getting that pay rise, for getting that different job, that career that you really want. Think about this, attracting the lover into your life because you've let go of past baggage. Now you're open and you're in control of your emotions. That lover may turn up for you when you're ready. Can you see all these benefits? And, that's what he says, there's 1,000 different benefits. And, this is the whole beauty of being able to implement these different strategies through the Live Now formula so that you can let it go. So Janet, I don't know if you're watching this today. I truly, truly hope that you got massive benefit from this. And ladies, give me a sign if you found this very empowering, because this is a different level of podcast in the way of, I'm not just sitting in having a conversation. The stuff that we're sharing in these podcasts is real, it's raw, it's relatable, but I'm saying to you from my heart, looking you in the eye, it can set you free of the prison that most of us have that holds us back from the life we know we want to live. And sometimes we want it so bad we pretend it's not important. We pretend we don't want the money. We pretend our health is not important enough. We pretend we don't want a lover. We pretend the relationship dissolved and it doesn't matter, I'll just find another one. That's bullshit. We pretend we don't want that particular job or that particular career. We pretend we don't want to be multi-millionairesses. It's not true. I know that each of us have these dreams within inside of us, but none of us can live them until we are true to ourselves, face the truth, and just allow ourselves to let it go. Love and let go. The very first principle of the Live Now formula, ladies. Go back, go through the modules, watch it, understand it. Do that one question on yourself. Stack the resentment, stack the disappointments, all of the benefits, the dollar signs if it's around money, and you will soon see how incredibly magnificent and beneficial this formula is for you. So ladies, this wraps up today's podcast on how to let go of the past, get into the now, create this life by design that you want, deserve, and just get on with living the best life that you can. I have tried not to stay in time here, but this was worth it. This was the podcast that I tried to bring you last week, and I feel that it was absolute gold. If you would like to know more about what I'm talking about, ladies in my community, put your comments below because I'm going to talk about it a lot more. Releasing the millionaires within. Let me know if you're interested in more around wealth creation. Now, wealth can be in the form of different areas of your life as well, not just money in the bank, but also this method where you can, really plan a great life by getting yourself into balance and getting into that captain seat. Bring the questions on, bring the comments, bring the ahas. If you don't agree, you're allowed to comment in here. There's no judgment. If you are new watching this podcast, I want to say thank you for joining us. And I truly hope you got massive, massive benefit out of this. Again, you can leave a review, a comment, go to the website to find out more. Ladies, Christine is going to her lessons. Love and let go. You will never, ever, ever drive the boat in the captain seat of your life until you master love and let go, master your emotions so that your emotions do not master you. Ladies, I want to say thank you for joining me. I truly, truly love being on this podcast with you today. Mwah, mwah, mwah. Okay, beautiful people, thank you again. Till next week, I seriously appreciate you tuning into the Gday Gorgeous podcast that empowers women for financial independence and business success in every area of life. And if you liked this episode and you got massive value from it, and I don't know how you wouldn't, please, I would be super grateful if you just take 30 seconds and leave me a review and pay the message forward by sharing this podcast, this inspiring podcast with others in your family, friends, people you work with that you know would greatly benefit. I call it the butterfly effect. Again, to find out more about the coaching, other women who we mentor and who are getting incredible success in their life, please go to gdaygorgeous.com where you'll see so many inspirational stories. And as I love to say, till next week, be bold, be courageous, and even more fabulous. See you soon, gorgeous. Bye for now.